So get into the habit of scheduling these one-to-ones with your managers, with your team members, with all your stakeholders. And that will help you to get regular feedback, work on it, and then grow in your career.
Hello, hi, and welcome all. I'm Pushkar Shashvi from Growjunction, back with my new podcast session. And in today's podcast session, I'm really very excited to welcome our new guest, Ketaki Vaidya, who is currently working as a senior software engineer in Oracle and has also worked in many companies. And hi, Ketaki, how are you? And she's also an alumni of NIT Silchar. So, did I miss anything, or you want to add anything, Ketaki?
No, I think the only fact that I would add here is I also have a podcast. So I'm very excited to be on another one, to be on the other side of the table this time. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So, Ketki, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and viewers?
Sure, absolutely. I would love that. So I'm currently, as you introduced, I'm currently a senior software engineer at Oracle India, where I lead the artificial intelligence team. And as a part of my work, we are required to incorporate artificial intelligence solutions in our core product for hospitality industry. Apart from my work, I'm very passionate about addressing the gender gap in tech. So I work with various initiatives like the 1 million women in STEM and women in data science to work on this, work on addressing the gender gap. Apart from that, I also have a podcast where I interview various professionals in the industry and we talk about the career strategies, career development strategies for young professionals. So that is about me.
So, yeah, like you just missed one line. Like every YouTuber say, do subscribe, like, and comment.
Yeah, that is the part that I hate the most. I hate promoting my channel.
Yeah, so that's great. So, Ketki, as you are working in a very renowned company that is Oracle and working as a senior software engineer, so like, what are your day-to-day responsibilities and how do you manage your day-to-day?
Sure. So I would say that no 2 days are same. We get different challenges every day almost. But on an average, our job includes first understanding the requirements of the product. So there's a lot of industry knowledge that's required to understand how do we serve our customers in the hospitality industry? How does this industry work? What do our customers need? And this is something that keeps changing along the way. So during the pandemic things were different, before the pandemic things were different, and now our customers, they have a different perception of what they need in their day-to-day operations. So our product works around that. So the first thing is to understand what are the requirements, what is the next feature that has to be built, and we work with the product team to understand and outline the requirements for our product. After that, it is mainly around coding and implementation, where we sit down and think about the efficient architecture, what are the efficient solutions. We do a few POCs at times, the proof of concepts, and we understand if a solution is feasible. So all of the research and development around that. And finally, every day involves a lot of meetings, especially when everyone is working from home now. So you have to hop on one call from another and try to maintain a good rapport with everyone, so that you know what everyone expects and everyone feels included. So that is a typical day in my life.
Yeah, that's great. That was really very informative about the roles and responsibilities at work. So,
Yeah, I think this would change from company to company. But on an average, this is what every software developer ends up doing: a lot of Stack Overflow, a lot of meetings. So that is the same.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So, as you yourself told that you talk to great people in the different industries while doing the podcast session. So, like, which industries people you interact and how do you?
Yeah, so I don't have anything specific as such. The When I started my podcast, I thought of starting it for women in tech, but as I went with 10 plus episodes, and I used to do a lot of episodes during the lockdown. So around that time, I figured out it could evolve to be just a career development resource for all professionals. So initially, I was targeting young professionals, and then it went on even to the mid career and late career professionals. So as of now, it just serves as a career development resource for any professional out there in the tech industry. And I keep looking at, I keep scrolling on LinkedIn and understanding who would be the next fit for my podcast, and I keep reaching out to a lot of guests. So the industry, I wouldn't say is anything specific. It's mainly the tech industry, and I try to get as diverse perspectives as possible, because that's how people can understand the careers that are out there, and that's how they feel more confident about the path that they've taken.
Okay, all right. So that's great. So you choose people from LinkedIn and see their profile whether they're fit or not for the
Right.
podcast.
I read a lot of posts, and sometimes it just resonates with me. So then I reach out to people,
All
and
right.
that's how it turns out to be.
Okay, that's great. So, like as you're working for so long in software engineering, okay. So, how do you think that how is this field software engineering? Like, is it challenging, proactive, or how would you say it?
Yeah, I think that this field is the combination of two main aspects. One is that your technical skills, you absolutely have to be on point in understanding what are the latest industry trends. There's no one technology. So once your fundamentals are clear, you keep hopping from one technology to another. Your job requirements can keep changing. Your project requirements can keep changing. So you always have to be ready to adapt to the latest technologies. So that is one aspect of this, of working in this field. But the second aspect, which is often ignored, is to be able to project your accomplishments very well. So no matter what you do at your work, you should be in a position where everyone knows the impact that you're creating, and where everyone is aware of the value that you bring to the table. So you should train yourself from day one. When you get into this career, you should train yourself to project your accomplishments, to talk about it, to share it with people, and do it in a way that's not offensive to anyone, and it does not sound like bragging, but at the same time conveys your value. So it rests on these two aspects, and once you master these, then I think it's very easy to sustain in this industry.
All right. So that's great. That was really informative about you telling about the software engineering field, how is this field, and
Yeah.
there are two main aspects involved. So yeah, the people, those who are software engineer watching this session, they can relate to themselves that this field is
Sure,
there.
and I would be happy to answer any other questions that they would have. They can comment below.
Yeah, sure. We would also be really very excited to know more queries from our subscribers and viewers if they have any for
Sure.
the software engineering.
Yeah.
So, as you are also from a very great college as is NIT, NIT. So, how was your life in NIT, and how did you manage to do software?
Yeah, so there was a very big struggle that I had before getting into colleges, where so there were around 4 rounds before getting into NIT that year. So they were doing this IIT JEE selections, and they were around 4 rounds. So I got selected in the fourth round, and until then, I was rejected from all the colleges that I was applying to. So there was a list that we had to submit, and I was constantly getting rejected. It was only when I gave up that there was the fourth round and I got into NIT Silchar. So it was like the last ray of hope. But I was trying my best to get into a good college, and this college was around 3,000 kilometers from my home. So obviously, my parents were scared. That was the first time I was moving out of my house. So it was completely out of my comfort zone. But I would say that it was a very good experience, and I would never give up on it for any other thing, because it taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about what I'm interested in, and helped me to become very independent in life. Before that, I was in a secure shelter of my parents, and there was a shield around me. But that particular college experience, it really helped me to get out of my comfort zone, understand my limits, push my limits, and find my interests. So that was the best part about the college. And I think everyone, no matter which college they go to, they do experience all of this. So those are the best days of our lives.
Yeah. That's true. Like every person could relate it that, moving out of your comfort zone and living independently. But living independently also comes with, great challenges. Like you have to
It does.
wash yourself daily and keep your house clean. And yeah, there are many things that many bachelors could relate with themselves while living on themselves. So yeah, that's true that you told that college life is really, very important part of every person's life. So
Yeah, it is.
that's great.
Really miss those days.
And as you have worked, Ketki, for many industries, okay. So, like, what learnings did you got from those industries, and how is it helping you now in your current position?
Right. So after I graduated from NIT Silchar in 2017, I have been with Oracle ever since. But I have changed multiple teams within the organization. And my learnings as such would be a lot of times when we are working in the software development field, we get too focused on the problem at hand. We get too focused on one particular project. But to really ace your performance at work and to really understand and contribute to your industry, you have to understand what is the bigger picture. So rather than getting too focused and narrowed down on what you're working on, you should try and talk to a lot of people in your team, talk to the leadership, senior leadership, and try to understand why you are doing what you're trying to do. So once you get the sense of purpose, that gives you a lot of sense of purpose. So once you get the understanding of what problem you're solving on a bigger scale and what impact you're having on the world in general, because at some point you're touching human lives. You don't realize it when you're coding, you don't realize it when you're stuck with your bugs, but at some point of the software development life cycle, your software is going to a customer, it is touching human lives, it is adding some value to their day. So once you understand that and once you start approaching your work from that perspective, things become really simple, and then you can become a better asset for your company, and your career trajectory can completely transform. So that is something which, if you understand in the initial days of your career, and if you approach your work days with that mindset and you try talking to people around what is the bigger picture, that really helps you to stand out at work, because everyone ends up coding and finishing their work, but this will give you a competitive edge over others.
All right. That was very informative and very insightful that you told, about the working and everything about the software engineering. As you also mentioned about the teams that, you have worked with many different types of teams. So how was the different types of, how did you manage with working with different types of people? Like you have met many types of people who are short tempered, like they get quickly angry, and some are very calm and very good personality. So how do you manage with those type of people, and how do you handle those type of things?
Yeah, I would say that this is a very big challenge that everyone faces. You when you work with global teams, especially now that we are moving to a hybrid working model, and you have global teams working all around. Everyone has a different culture. They have a different upbringing. They have a different set of values that they come from, and to collaborate with them and work toward a common goal, it can become challenging at times. But the way that you can maybe simplify this a little is to have regular check-ins with your team. So what I do is, apart from my manager, I always converse with my manager either weekly or monthly and make sure that I'm performing well, and if there is any feedback, I try to address that. But I also have regular check-ins with my team members, and each and every team member, I try maybe catching up with them every 2 months or every month, depending on what's possible. And I try to understand what they feel, if they're okay, if they feel that I can improve on something, or if there is anything that I can do to help them. And that helps me to establish a working relationship with everyone. Some I end up resonating with a lot, and for some people it's just a superficial working relationship. But either way, it's very useful to maintain a balance, and to make yourself understood, and to make sure that everyone knows what your working terms are, and everyone knows how you would contribute best. So that once you establish that understanding with your team, then I think it becomes a lot easier.
Yes, yes, yes. That the starting also you rightly said that everyone faces these type of challenges with working with different
Yeah,
types of
it's a
teams.
common challenge, and I think it
Yeah,
does not pertain to just this industry, but everywhere in general.
everywhere is there. Yes, but many
Right.
people get tempered themselves, like managing different types of people and working with different. But that is also great learning. Like you meet a lot of new people, you talk to them, and you get to work with them. So yeah, that is also learning itself while working with different types of people.
And it's a fun experience for sure. And it's you can never say that you would master that skill, because it's always a work in progress. You always find new kinds of people, you always end up learning something new, and you end up tweaking your ways of working. But at the end of the day, you'll have to try to be as inclusive as you can, and that involves a lot of learning along the way.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Keitli, as you are also a software engineer of yourself, so like what types of programming languages you have mastered yourself?
I wouldn't say that I would have mastered any programming language in general, but during my college, I mainly focused on C++, Java, and Python. And currently, I mainly work on Java, Python, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, all that. So the list keeps getting longer, but I would say that mainly I focus on Java. Once my concepts in one language are clear, I can easily apply it to any other programming language that I learn. So is my favorite.
All right. Okay. So Java is your favorite language, right? That's
Yeah.
great because Java for me was like, I don't know how to do Java or C++. I tried once, but it was really messed up because I'm not from an engineering background. I'm just a commerce background. So
Yeah, but I think these days there are so many resources out there, it should become easy now.
yeah. There are many, platforms also where you can learn freely this Java and C++ from basics, like from scratch, and yeah, you can excel in that. So
Yeah, so one suggestion around this for anyone who's watching this would be that don't get too focused on the programming language, rather look at it as a tool to solve a project. So once you start implementing languages in projects, that's when you learn the most. No matter how many courses you do, no matter how many books you read, eventually it just becomes a lot of theory to take in. But once you start using that language and looking at it as a tool to solve a business problem, then you learn a lot, and that should be enough to keep you in the industry. So you just have to keep that understanding and approach the programming languages with that mindset.
that was great. So, like as you have told about the Java and other languages. So, which software do you work on currently, and how are you working on this?
So currently, our work, it involves a lot of data science technologies. So we have an internal platform in our organization that has data modeling and data pre-processing capabilities, and we are currently working on making this a standardized platform for any data source which can use this platform to model their data and to draw insights and make sense of their data. So that particular platform is what we mainly use, and it uses a lot of Python, Jupyter Notebook. So it is those things that I'm working on. So our project as a team, it keeps changing. Before this, I was working on a chatbot. Before that, I was working on an algorithm that was completely based in Java, and now I'm working on Jupyter Notebooks. So there's no particular software that we use. It's just that you have to know a few softwares to start with, and then depending on the project, you can keep changing your stack.
All right. So you might also yourself never know which software you're working. So you have to, have a basic
Yeah, it
knowledge.
keeps changing. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, according to you, Kirti, like, what do you think that what are the myths going around in the market for the software engineering? Like people who are working in a software engineering. So, what are the myths that people do come across?
I would say there are two biggest myths that come to my mind. First is that there's a general misconception in the industry where it is understood that once you're in the tech field, all you need to do is code all the time, and it's thought of as a background job where you're just in front of your laptop, you don't have to interact with people. You only care about your work and you finish it, you have a deadline, so you finish it, and that's it. But that's not how the software development industry works, because at any point of the day you have to be able to interact and communicate for impact. You have to talk to people in a way that they understand what you're coding or what your work is. You also might be involved with a lot of non-coders who would not understand the technical specificities of what you're working on. So you should be able to simplify your work and explain it to them in a way that they can understand without letting them feel that maybe they are fools or something, right? Because that is a general conception that comes to developers, where they feel that because they're working on something they are great, and then they end up underestimating the value of other roles in the industry. So you have to respect every role, whether it is technical or non-technical, and you should be able to explain your work to them. And that's why it's not just the tech skills that you need to focus on, you also need to focus on the soft skills. And you need to practice explaining your work, communicating with people, networking with people. All those are also skills that you need to master as a software developer. And the second biggest myth that I would think is that in the software development industry, there's a okay, what was the second myth? Let me think about it. I had two myths in mind. Mm. Yeah, the second myth is again around communication, because not a lot of software developers feel that communicating is important, and they feel that they can get ahead in their careers just by coding and showcasing how smart they are. But you might be the smartest person in the room and people can still hate you. So that's something that you have to think about, and you have to be lovable at work, and you have to do a lot of work on yourself to be in that position. So that requires getting outside of your code and working on it. So apart from coding, these are things that you need to filter out, and you need to have that mindset.
Yes, yes. And that was a very, very, very common quote that you used in your sentence that you might be the smartest in the room. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's a general attitude that I see in the industry, especially among the freshers, where they feel that they're earning high packages and that they are in demand and everything is going to go well. But eventually, it drills down to your success in the field, would drill down to how well you can collaborate with people. That is really important.
that's true. That's true. So, Ketki, like while working in your organization, so have you ever come across like many challenges you might have come across while working in this field? So, like, how did you overcome, or did you ever feel that, oh my God, how am I going to do this project? I am feeling very low about this project. So, how did you manage those situations?
Absolutely. I think this takes me back to the initial days of my career when I joined Oracle. And at that point of time, I was not understanding what we were trying to do. I was too focused on my work, and I was only focused on delivering and meeting the deadlines. And then that entire year, when I joined Oracle, that entire year, I worked really hard. But during my appraisal, I discovered that my work was not having a lot of impact, and this was the feedback that I got from my manager at that time. And he explained it in a very subtle way, but I understood that he was not very happy with my work. So it came as a huge shock, because the entire year I thought I was doing really well, I was delivering everything on time, and then there comes a feedback that my work is not having enough impact. So I took it as a constructive criticism, because I tried to talk to a lot of people in my team and tried to understand how I could do better. And that is when I changed the way that I worked, where after that I started understanding and talking to people. Even before getting to code, I tried to understand what the requirements were, which helped me to avoid a lot of rework later. And I didn't jump to conclusions very soon, so I took a lot of time to code and to make sure that the approach that I was taking was right. And apart from that, I started scheduling these regular check-ins with my manager, where I could solicit regular feedback. So it was a monthly feedback rather than a yearly feedback, where it would come as a shock. And every month I would follow up with him, try to understand what negative points I could work on, how I could do better. That way he knew that I was serious, I knew that I was working on something, I had a direction. And by the end, then I was able to prove and establish my credibility in the workplace. So this is a very critical point, which is not incorporated in most of the feedback systems in today's organizations, where you have a yearly appraisal, but before that you never catch up with your stakeholders. So it ends up coming as a huge shock later, when you don't satisfy their criteria. So get into the habit of scheduling these one-to-ones with your managers, with your team members, with all your stakeholders, and that will help you to get regular feedback, work on it, and then grow in your career. So that is really important. So that, I think, that's all the challenges that I had initially.
Oh, okay, okay. So you never felt like demotivated. Oh my God, I'm not going to do this project. I'm not
I
going
did. I think even now there are days when I do feel that everyone goes through these phases where at times you feel really demotivated, but you just have to understand that there are people to support you, and you don't have to be alone. So you can always ask for help. There are people out there in the industry, even outside of your company. You can reach out to people, they're always ready to help you. LinkedIn is an amazing platform for that. I've had multiple coffee chats with people where I try to understand their perspective, and it helps me to understand my problems and find solutions. So you can feel demotivated, but you will always have a support network to help you with it. So that is something that will keep you going.
Yes, that's true. Because many a times, like whether not only software engineers, like the people those are working in different domains, whether they are in product management or any other domain they are working, they might have be facing like these type of issue, like demotivating about themselves, procrastinating themselves that I won't be able to do this project because my mind is not working. I don't know how will I complete. But if you have right people in your team to motivate you, more we are there to support you, or moral support, that also very much helps in the project, right?
Yeah, and again, that support network is something that you have to go out and build yourself. You
Yes.
have to start establishing those relationships. No one is going to help you unless you ask for it, and they're not going to help you unless you give something in return. So you always have to be in a position where you can support people, and then feel supported from their help. And that takes a lot of years, that takes a lot of days. So you should constantly be on the look for mentors, for a lot of sponsors that can come your way, for allies that could help you, who could put your names for some projects, who could understand what you're interested in. And that makes you feel supported, because as a field, this is a very vast field. There are days where it gets really competitive and you feel lonely. But then that's where you have to understand that you have a support network to hold on to.
Yes. That's true. That's true. And if you have the right people in your team and if they are supporting you, even if at your low, then yeah, you have everything. Then you don't need to worry about anything else. And that's
Yeah, absolutely.
and one thing like I would like to ask, like according to you, like how do you think that the people those are working in the software engineer domain, like do they have the growth in this career, or like they're gonna work like somewhere? Some people are working in TCS, so they think that okay, I'm working in IT, I don't need to worry about anything else. So how do you think that is this a growth in career?
I think what you take from this field, it depends on person to person. For some people, they are very interested in individual contributor roles, and then that's what they look at, even as they grow through their career. Maybe they like to have and solve more complex problems as they go ahead, but they don't want a leadership role. Or maybe for some people, it is after they have done several years of software development, they are interested to move into a leadership role. So this is something that you need to have a career development plan, and you need to sit and think about it when you start your career. And if you have not already drafted that plan, it just has to be a simple plan of short and long term goals, just to have a direction of where you're headed. Because with software development field and with any career in general, you can feel like you are working for a longer time and you're just passing years, and you're just getting senior day after day. But you also need to couple it with a direction and a sense of clarity of what you need from your career. So once you understand whether you're interested in individual contributor roles, or maybe you're interested in leadership roles, then you have to share this with your manager and talk about this. Because we often don't understand this, but our managers can help us a lot in our careers, not just in terms of our deliverables, but also in terms of the direction that our career needs. So you can reach out to them, you can get their advice, and you can at least keep them informed that you're interested in such opportunities, so that when they open up for your team, you get one. Right, so there might be a leadership position that opens up and you might be considered for it, but no one would nominate you for that unless you make yourself clear that this is what you're interested in. So have these check-ins, career check-ins with your manager, where at least maybe once in 3 months or once in 4 months, you discuss what you want from your career. And then people can give you those opportunities that you need. And if they don't give you these opportunities, then that's a sign to move to another company. Maybe you're not in the right organization, maybe you're not in the right team, and you're not working with the right people. But try to seek those people, try to seek those stakeholders who could help you and advise you on what opportunities you should be looking at. And once you do that, then it's not just about the money, but it's also about, do you feel fulfilled in your career? Do you feel that you are having a sense of purpose? Is it getting very redundant? Is it getting boring for you? So these are the questions that you need to ask yourself every now and then, and that should be able to dictate what is the next career decision that you would take.
All right. Yeah, that was very great and very informative that you told, that how is the growth of the software engineer and the people those who are working
Yeah.
in big industries. So yeah, that was that is really great. And one thing, like again, I came into my mind, like how, if you want to describe till now, how far has your journey been? And in one word, like, was it confused or was it great, or how has your journey been till now?
I would say, if I have to describe my journey in one word, I would say empowering, because this has been a very empowering experience. And I would say that this only came to me when I realized that I was having a huge impact through my work that I did every day. It was a desk job and I was sitting and coding. So at some point, it got really frustrating that I was not getting to go on a stage or maybe talk a lot. But eventually, I realized that this particular job is helping me solve a lot of problems that exist out there, and I'm helping our customers. So when I started getting into customer calls, when I saw the smiles on their faces, when I saw the impact that we were having with our product, that was a very empowering experience. And along the way, I've learned a lot about my life, about my interests, and about what I want from my career. So I now feel very confident about what I do and where I'm headed.
Yes, that's true. You should feel confident, and but you should also, never stop learning. Like life will
Yeah,
always,
introspection is also a very big aspect here.
yes, life will always, put you in those situations where you have to learn, learn and learn and learn, and you should never stop learning, because there might be many moments and many situations that you might be also learning new things that you might be not aware, and
And it's not necessary that you always learn from your seniors. You learn a lot from your juniors. You learn from your peers. So there's always that.
that is also a good point. So coming to the last part of the session, so thank you so much, Kirti, for being here in this podcast session and coming from a busy schedule. So thank you so much. Anything you want to say from your side to our audience and viewers? You have any minds?
I think that one advice that I would give is sometimes this field gets really overwhelming. So you have to take breaks and take pauses to introspect how far you've come, because even getting into this field is really challenging. So you have to give yourself credit for all your progress, give credit for all your accomplishments, and that particular feeling will always, it'll make you confident, and it'll give you a position where you can fight for yourself and fight for the opportunities that you deserve. So never give up, maybe, but also at the same time, give yourself the space to breathe and reflect on how far you've come.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I would also like to say to my audience and viewers that just, don't be demotivated, or don't procrastinate yourself if you are feeling low or if you're not able to do anything. Just look like how better you can be from yesterday, and yeah, be a better version of yourself from yesterday or tomorrow. That's what I would like to say. So thank you, Ketki. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you.